Hey everyone, welcome to Daily Revelations. We are in Esther 3, and today the study had you looking at the contrast between trusted advisors. And I kind of have a little spin off of that in this video today. So I hope you really dug some information out on that and just kind of how you apply that in your own life. But when I was studying, the one thing that really popped out at me was the character of Haman. And there are a few verses in chapter 3 that give us a good idea of who he was. And so, like in verse 9, we learn that he was rich. He was able to tell the king that he was going to give 10,000 talents to annihilate the Jews. A talent is basically the wage that a person would earn through their entire life, a normal laborer. So he would give 10,000 of those. He was a very wealthy man, and we'll learn more about what he was able to do with his money as well. That was his demise. He was very crafty. We see that in verse 8, he says, "So it's to the king's interest that you do this." Well, it wasn't for the king at all. It was for him and his own selfish desires. We also learn that he was very arrogant. He actually got the king to decree that everyone bows down to him. Not just the king, but him too. We learned that he had a temper, that he was filled with rage. That was in verse 5. And he had no feelings. He didn't care about other people. And we see that in verse 15, where he and the king sat down after he had set this decree and sent it all out. Whatever, I'm going to live on my life. Okay, so sometimes when you do Bible study, we compare and contrast. And that's what I did today as I sat down. This really where I felt the Holy Spirit leading me. And I made a list of the attributes of God that contrast to Haman. And I want it to just be an encouragement to you. God, he's rich beyond measure. He has way more than 10,000 talents. And he has storehouses that he can open up at his whim for our use and his. And so we need not worry what other people do with their money. He isn't crafty. He's transparent. He tells us everything we need to know about what's going on in our lives. We ask, we seek, we knock, and he gives. Also, he is only love and good. There is no arrogance in God at all. And he is not thinking about his best interest, as he's shown over and over again through how he's displayed himself through his word, through his story, and through our own lives, that he will continue to love and be good for those that he loves. And he loves us all. He just wants us to come to know him. He is righteous, but he is not driven by anger. God has a righteous anger, which is good because he sees evil in the light of evil and he sees good in the light of good. And that we want in a God. And we want to know that there is justice in this world that he will enact at some point. And it's not up to us. That is in his hands. And he's using the difference that he sees in evil and good for our good. And that's what's great. And loving us in the same. And God is compassionate. He is not unfeeling. He feels everything we feel, and he has. As Jesus felt every emotion of a human when he was on earth, God feels with us. He travels this road with us. The Holy Spirit is there to comfort us and to guide us. And so God is all of these things. So as I wrote those down, I was like, yeah, he gives advice I can trust in. No matter what the research I look at, what other people say who come against me, if God says, this is my way, follow it, this is where my peace is, do it. Don't keep looking for more research to prove my point. And that was my yesterday. I'm choosing to not get part of the typical breast surgery done for my cancer. And that's to figure out if it's gone into my lymph nodes. Because truthfully, I'm going to treat it the way that God has led me to treat it. And he has just settled very greatly in my heart that I shouldn't get that done. And I'm getting a lot of opposition from doctors. And I was kind of looking for research to prove my point. But God just kept saying, Can you just trust in me instead of looking for something else to lean on? And that's hard because we want the evidence that this is going to be. And as I was praying this morning, this is what God said to me. He said, Peggy, I love you. I will not let you go. Trust me. I am doing a new work in you. And that's an encouragement. I just want you to know God says the same thing to you. He's doing a new work in you. Whatever he's working out, he wants to show the world who he is by working out your difficulty and walking you through it. So be encouraged today. Love you guys. And I will see you tomorrow to talk more about Esther 3. Bye, everybody.